One, it's your dear friend Mike Juan Bailey with the Drum Iowa Network, and I have our dear friend Jalen Jones. What's going on, Jalen? How you feeling today?
Chilling like a villain. Can't complain. Yourself?
Oh, I can't complain at all. I'm feeling good. Long, hard day's work. After a long, hard day's work, you know how that goes where you want to just kind of sit back and enjoy the rest of your evening and not do too much. It's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm happy to have you back.
It's always a pleasure to be back.
All right, good deal. And today we have a dear friend of mine, a very old friend and a very influential gentleman from here in our community, Mr. Sherman Wise. Welcome to the Drum Iowa Network.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. You do a lot for our community.
I appreciate it.
You've been doing a lot for our community for a real long time. Your work is really appreciated here. Before we go too deep into things, talk to us a little bit about, your journey. We know you're from Waterloo, but a lot of folks that tune into the Drum Iowa Network are from other communities here in Iowa. So for the folks who are not privy to the work that you do in our community, give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Well, currently I am, I'm a native of Waterloo. I have 5 siblings. I have 4 children.
5 siblings.
5 siblings. All
Now,
boys.
where are you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew you had 4. I've been knowing you for a long time. I was doing the math
Right.
Earlier today. I said, man, I've been knowing Sherman for about 30 years.
Yeah.
And I did not know that you have 4 younger brothers.
5.
5 younger brothers.
5 younger brothers.
Sorry, go ahead.
I have 4 children. My daughter, Shamari, is the oldest. She lives out in Arizona now. My son's in college. Then my daughter, Mia, in Brooklyn, 14 and 9.
All right.
So, yeah.
That's what's up.
All 5 years apart. But the crazy thing is me and my brothers are 5 years apart.
Isn't that something?
My brother's kids are 5 years apart.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Fun fact.
Very fun fact.
Yeah.
All right. We know you're one of the co-owners of the All In Grocery Store here in Waterloo. For those of you who are not privy to our work here in Waterloo, the All In Grocery Store is the first. Well, let me get this straight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sherman. It has been over 50 years since we've had a community grocery store in this community.
Walnut Court neighborhood.
Okay, in the Walnut Court neighborhood.
Correct.
It's been over 50 years, and the All In Grocery Store has been the first one to break that mold in that long.
In that food desert. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also a co-owner of Premier Staffing. So we've been in business about 10 years.
All
so
right.
we staff almost 700 people a year.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very unique dynamic. And plus, the grocery store, which is almost 8 months old now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be even unique to the community even more because, our closest grocery store, Hy-Vee, on Logan Avenue just closed last month. So, I mean, it's going to even be even that more of a need of filling that food desert because people are going to be coming in, even in more mass amounts to kind of fill that void. So that
Absolutely.
We're hope to be able to fill those voids.
Well, we got faith in you. This community's behind you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
I was just in there today to get myself some sugar.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. And that's the thing about it. And I said this earlier to a dear friend of mine. You don't have to, we're not saying you need to go out there and do all of your shopping, but let's just keep it relative support in a way that's easy for you. And for me today, it was I needed some sugar for my coffee this morning. Right. It's right around the corner. So I said, hey, let me run over there and grab some sugar.
And I would agree with that. I think one of the things we try to talk to the community about is to say, hey, don't change your normal shopping habits, but just add all into it. If there's an opportunity, you can spend that one shopping experience with All In, do it for that week. Be very intentional. I think that a lot of times we don't know how good we've had it until we've lost something.
For sure.
And in this unique situation, losing Hy-Vee, I've seen a lot of the posts online on social media saying, we lost this staple of the community. But if you want to support, you need to be intentional with, coming to All In, making it part of your normal shopping experience. Still go to the other stores, but just be intentional about your shopping. Right.
And I mentioned this before, and this is something I didn't know. Grocers deal in perishable goods.
Yep.
So there's a shelf life when it comes to things. So it's really critical for folks in our community to get out, buy the bread, buy the vegetables, get the greens. They got the good collard greens, get the greens and pick that stuff up because the shelf life is limited. It's not like we're going to buy a cabinet or anything like that. So it's, Yeah, we're dealing in a time-sensitive industry.
I'm glad you hit that. So, as an independent grocer, you don't have $100 million or $1 billion grocery, mega store behind you.
For sure.
We're not a Walmart. We're not a Hy-Vee. We're not a Fairway. So, as an independent grocer, when you, like you said, it's time sensitive. So, if you don't understand that, hey, these products need to go out, and if they don't go out, it's a loss to the store.
Right.
And I think that that's what, even with this situation with the other grocery store closing, that was one of the situations where you have so much loss. So we're just trying to be very unique and thoughtful on the products we get, the time we get them in, so that we can make sure that we're, providing, but also reducing the loss at the same time. So
I was talking to another community member, and she said to me, I like All In because they have my chips, so that tells me that you guys are open to feedback in terms of what people want to eat, in terms of people's taste.
Definitely.
And that's critical when it comes to a neighborhood community grocery store, because we do have a particular taste, and being able to have the things that we'd like to have is really important. And sometimes those bigger chains, they don't listen to the small folks when we make those recommendations.
I would agree. And sometimes I just want to speak to any customers that may be coming in, to speak to that aspect. If a product hasn't been brought in, there's probably a reason.
Absolutely.
You might be that unique individual that only wants that product.
Yep.
And if you only want that product, it's very difficult for us to bring in a caseload or several caseloads of the product. The rest will waste out, and you'll get that one.
Absolutely.
So
just that'll put us in the situation that we said that we just didn't want to be in. We're dealing in perishable goods. Things are time sensitive.
Yep.
They can't sit on the shelves. Just kind of swiveling a little bit. You mentioned Premier Staffing and your role with Premier Staffing, and you've been doing that for a long time. I think
for a decade.
If you want to talk to the young folks at home who may have an idea about how to break into the business of being an entrepreneur, because that's not my wheelhouse, but that's your wheelhouse. For the young person at home that wants to be a young entrepreneur, what advice would you give to a young person that's thinking about a career in small business?
If you want to go into small business, this is what the first thing I always say to anybody, and I say it in the speaking engagement I just had recently for our Inspire Fest, or I've said it at Hawkeye. I always tell people, you're always interviewing. So as an entrepreneur, one of my friends owns a car lot.
Okay.
How do you sell cars? You have to be a people's person, right? You have to be respected in the community. So if you're not trustworthy, if you don't have good credibility, you open that shop or you open that store, somebody's going to say, hey, that person is not of good character. I'm not going to spend my money with them. So you're always interviewing. I mean, from everything from high school to somebody seeing you at the gym. Jalen and I used to go to the gym a lot together. And that's probably my first introduction of Jalen. Now, if I was in the gym being a bully or things like that, carrying myself a different way, now Jalen sees that we have a store. He's like, hey, I don't want to go into that store because I don't want to be around.
Sherman used to bully me.
Yeah, but that's honestly how people kind of, review
for sure
entrepreneurs. So that's the first thing I say. You're always interviewing, and just make sure you have that credibility and relationships. Relationships are vital. Doing an investment right now, but a banking relationship is so important when you want access to capital.
For sure.
That's going to be another vital part of just making sure that you have that relationship so that you can, further that business or take it to scale if need be.
Absolutely. So you young people at home with these dreams of being, big influencers, small business owners, listen to what he's telling you. He's giving you some really good advice. So essentially, I want to make sure I got this straight, Sherman. What you're saying here is you're constantly marketing and advertising your brand by the way that you behave and the way that you treat others in your dealings, because people don't forget these things when the time comes to ask them to support your business.
Very much so. I think that one traits that I want to leave this earth by is saying Sherman was of good character.
For sure.
Sherman was
Absolutely.
dependable. Sherman was trustworthy. And it's not to kiss tail. It's just to make sure that I leave this world with a good name.
Absolutely.
Hey man, to keep it a buck, every time I seen you at the gym, it was always nothing but love. Every time I seen you in public, it was always nothing but love. And I don't know if we even knew what each other was into like that. I just
No?
knew as soon as I seen you, you was right there with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
that's where it stays. So
Yep.
that speaks to your character.
And I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shifting gears a little bit, a big part of this show is talking about how we as men deal in everyday life, emotionally and spiritually, how we get through the day, some of the things that we do to make our days a little bit easier. So we try to get a lot of insight from our guests who come onto the show to kind of drop some gems and share some things that work for them, because we don't live in a cookie cutter world. What works for you might not work for me, may not work for her or him.
Right.
So, but maybe there are some things that you do that might be able to help someone else. So, yeah, big question. What do you do to just get through the day to make sure that you stay focused, hit all of your goals, and then at the end of the day, not feeling like fried and done? What are some of those coping skills that you would recommend for, young men?
I would start by saying, do not make life harder than what it has to be.
Okay.
Life is difficult already. Like I'm a firm believer, because I think a lot of times we make life harder than what it has to be by our decisions.
Absolutely.
Don't go out and spend all your money, and then you have these bills or creditors contacting you, and now you're getting an eviction notice, or now your car is getting repoed, or whatever the situation may be. Do not make life harder than what it's supposed to be. So I'm a very firm believer on making wise decisions. Like you really have to. So that's the first thing I would say is don't make life harder, and be very mindful of the people that you have in your circle.
For sure.
You guys just talked about Matt Gilbert. Matt told me one time, man, and we left a place, and he was talking about, he was like, and I wanted to leave. And he was like, Sherman, the reason you wanted to leave is because when the energy is off, it starts to drain you. And it was like my moment of enlightenment. I was like, wow. So I've been mindful of the people that I have around me, but I would say be very mindful of the people around you, because they're either doing one or two things. They're either feeding into you or pouring into your cup, or they're draining you. So, and with that can look like a lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
I heard a saying one time: if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. If you hang around, basketball players hang around other basketball players. Bowlers hang around other bowlers. Alcoholics hang around other what? So when you think about the people that are around you, you have to make sure that a lot of it is you got the right support system.
For sure.
Then you're able to deal with life as it happens, the uncontrollable part.
How would you say you navigate keeping those relationships so that they are reciprocal or just not draining you? Because I know personally, growing up, going through high school and thinking that I graduate and stay friends with these people forever, and to where I'm at now, it's like I see people where they're at, I see people where they were, I see people that are at where I'm at or somewhere I wouldn't mind being with them. But it's like, how do you keep your circle kind of tight like that?
You have to determine what role a person plays in your life. Everybody can't be everything to you, everything to my Quan, but I am something to him.
Right.
And that role is what he categorized me at. So that you have to figure that out. Like some people may be your gym partner.
Yeah.
They may be helping you get to those that wellness or that fitness goal.
Trying to spot me, bro?
And that might
I swear you have before, at least once.
Yeah. But then after that person may only fit in that category.
Right.
So you have to figure out when you're talking about wellness and maybe having an outlet. There's sometimes we can have these healthy conversations, but it's only with a certain group of people. You can't just have that with everybody.
You can't.
my advice would be just categorize people. Some people you can go out and have a ball with. Y'all can go bowling, y'all can go to the clubs, y'all can do it. But anything after that, no. If you have children, sometimes you can go with it, and you have fun with your family fun and things like that. But just categorize those people and have that spirit of discernment to say, this person is not good for me. It's not a judgmental thing. I'm not going around just saying, hey, this person is terrible, but just know where you're going, and this person just not fit into that mold.
Right.
So I have to ask, because you're really dropping some gems right now. And after you've done that and you've managed to recognize this person's role in your life, how do you go about relaying to that person in a way that is easy, in a way that is gentle, so it's not to damage the relationship, but just kind of establishing those boundaries that, hey, you're my gym partner. Hey, you're my workshop buddy, or whatever it is. Can you kind of speak to how you approach those conversations with people?
I think those people honestly fall into their place themselves.
Okay.
They
So there's not a lot of dialogue that goes into
I don't think it's a lot of dialogue. The reason why there's not going to be a lot of dialogue is because they don't understand. If they're not the healthy, person to talk about health and wellness and emotional intelligence and things like that, they're not going to understand that. Yeah. They understand fitness.
Absolutely.
So that's so true. That's the category. So I think they'll fall into, because if you have that conversation with them, and it may be a forced conversation, as a leader, they know that, hey, I'm not going to call Sherman to go out with. I'm not going to call Sherman to go bowling with, but we can go work out. Some people, I love bike riding. Some people are going to avoid me because we're doing about 15, 20, 25 miles. They're just going to avoid me at all costs. So that's not going to be my bicycle community.
Right.
But they may go to the gym with me.
Right.
So I think they'll fall into their own categories organically.
That's a great way to put it. All right. I think this would be a good time to take a quick break and come back with all right. And we are back. Welcome back. And this is the part of the show where we get everybody up to speed on all of the fun things going on with Drum Iowa through the summertime. Before we get to the updates, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. Marshalltown, big thanks to all of our friends at Prairie Woods, all of our friends here in Waterloo. We thank you guys for coming out and supporting drum culture, because that's what it's all about. It's all about offering our communities alternative forms of entertainment other than what we're used to, things that are healthy for us and good for us in the long term. And that's what drum culture is all about, connecting with people who come from various backgrounds but share a love for drum. Jumping into it, for July, next Saturday, actually, we'll be back down in Prairie Woods, July 13th from 6 to 8 for our monthly drum circle and fire. For those of you who are familiar with the experience down at Prairie Woods, we'd love to see you down again. For those of you who are not familiar with Prairie Woods is a really cool spirituality center, non-denominational center. There are lots of things to do out there, lots of different workshops, lots of classes. They have wonderful grounds. It's just really a cool place to be and to spend time and to kind of get in tune with yourself. So if you're in Lynn County, or if you're in Black Hawk County or the surrounding areas, I encourage you to go on down to Prairie Woods and check out and see what they have to offer. Again, it's, some of the things may work out for you, some things may not, but give them a shot. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. July 20th, we'll be back down in Marshalltown for our drumming at Yoga in the Park with our friends Taylor Bear and Heidi Drazy. We'll be back down in the Marshalltown community. So for those of you who were down with us last month, we had a ball. We'd love to see even more of you out. Last month we had a bit of weather, a little bit of rain, but for those of you who came out, you can attest that we had a good time. The vibe was strong. So we want to repeat that again in July, on July 20th, drumming at Yoga in the Park, followed up with the community drum circle that evening, the same evening from 6 to 8. So the drumming at Yoga in the Park is in the morning from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And then, we'd love to see you out that evening in the park from 6 to 8 p.m. And again, all of these events are posted on the Drum Iowa page, so feel free to take a look at the events tab if you're curious about any of the events. If your question still isn't answered, feel free to reach out. That's what we're here for, to help you understand what's going on. And then finally in July, we have actually on July 27th, drumming on the cedar with Aya Dance Meditation. Now that's always a ball because Danny Eastman from Aya Dance, she comes out and she gets folks moving. She's got the somatic dance routines that are really good, and you don't have to be a super dancer. That event is posted, and all of these events are free events. You know, they're not ticketed events, free will donations, and all of your donation goes towards refurbishing our drums, getting more instruments, facilitating drum culture in different places in Iowa. So, hey, we love to have you out. Feel free to spread the word, share the events. That's what they're there for. Then cruising into August 3rd, we'll be back up in Decorah for our monthly drum circle and fire. If you're familiar with the Decorah area, then you know it's a lovely community. The nature of it there is, I love the way the landscape changes once you get up in that part of the state. You go from the plains areas into more bluffs and more rivers and waterfalls, things you wouldn't really expect to see in Iowa once you get up in that northern area of the state leading into Minnesota. So
a waterfall?
Yeah, Dunning Springs has a waterfall.
Yeah, there's several waterfalls actually in Iowa.
Yeah,
I feel like I heard that, but I ain't been to it.
good stuff.
Yeah.
You should look into it. And a lot of people don't realize Decorah is only about an hour and 15, 20 minutes away from us. They're not far at all.
So if somebody is watching right now and they haven't come to one of the drum circles, man, what can they expect attending one of these drum circle events?
That's a great question. Well, first and foremost, you don't have to have any drumming experience. So it's not a deal where you're coming out and you're trying to be a superstar. You don't even have to drum. You can come and just listen.
Okay.
We encourage people to come and just listen, catch a vibe, and then maybe the next time you come, you might want to sample a shaker or, a rattle or some type of percussion instrument.
So they can actually play.
Absolutely.
I think one of my friends, Darian, came to one. I think it might have been in the Waterloo Center of the Arts, and he said, "Man, he got a chance to play."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where the donations go. The donation goes toward buying more drums, and keeping these things available for people when they come to the events. Because if you're coming to your first drum circle and you know nothing about drum culture and drum circles, and then there are these drums here for you to sample from, that's a great opportunity for you to play around and see what fits you. And then the hope is it lights a fire in you, and then you say, you know what, I want to go buy my own drum. I'm going to get this drum. And you start doing the research, and then next time I see you, you got a drum with you. And it's like, all right, now we're moving.
How long are the events? Like, are they an hour and a half? How are they structured? Do you start off and there's a certain segment of them playing, and then, or the drummers playing, and then they're opening it up for everybody else to come in?
We like to start with a little bit of instruction.
Okay.
We like to start with helping people understand the origin of these drums and how they were originally used versus how they're used now. And then I like to teach people the basic strokes, which is your bass, which is in the middle of the drum, and then slap and tone, which is around the edges of the drum. And that's really easy for people to pick up, and once you pick those three drum strikes up, then you're able to kind of follow along with the rest of the group. We always start with really basic rhythms. We try not to start with anything too complex because at the end of the day, we want people to buy into drum culture. There is no star. When I facilitate drum circles, I am not the star. It's all about me getting the rest of the group involved and feeling comfortable and getting the vibe going. So that's my role as a facilitator.
Okay.
But to go back to your original question in terms of what people can expect, you can expect to catch a really good vibe around people who are into drum culture are also into, more spiritual, energetic movements. So usually these people understand the power of drum language and drum culture. So you're surrounding yourself around people who are trying to figure it out, so to speak. And then you're also exercising your left brain and your right brain, because that's a big piece that people don't understand about drumming is that it is actually an exercise for your brain. The same way you would go to the gym and work out muscles, drumming exercises your brain. It exercises the left hemisphere and your right hemisphere of your brain. So when you're going and you're remembering left stroke, right stroke, think about a workout for your brain. There's a lot of science that surrounds drumming for stroke patients, dementia patients. I did an event about a month ago at a nursing center, and just to see those seniors, just to see their faces light up when that drum started going off was amazing to see, you know. So that's what drum culture is all about. But getting back to your question, you can expect to have a really cool time with no pressure because you don't have to do anything. You can sit back and just listen for the whole 2 hours.
I can attest to that. You're great at facilitating, by the way.
I wouldn't say I'm great because there are a lot of people out there who like are legendary. In all honesty and transparency, I've only been facilitating for I'd say about 3 years.
And where did your passion for this come from?
A lot of my drum friends know this story, but it started off when I was in Egypt, and I was invited to a wedding. And when I got to the wedding, when the bride and groom walk down the aisle, there's usually about 20 or 30 drummers behind them with these small Arabic duffs, and they're striking and they're moving, and it's just a very loud event as they're walking down the aisle. Now, and then also to keep in mind, they're not walking down the aisle for just 2 or 3 minutes and they go up to the pulpit. These folks are drumming for 45 minutes to an hour. You know what I mean? And the wedding is not based on so much how the food was. The wedding is based on how loud the drummers played and how in sync they were.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So my years there, I wasn't hyper focused on drumming at the time. I was there for other things. But when I came back home and started working in human services, I noticed that there was some correlation between mental health work or behavior work and drumming. So then that kind of lit another fire to answer your question. But yeah, I would have to credit my time overseas and just kind of hanging out with those folks, kind of getting me addicted to drumming.
Well, thanks for that insight.
Yeah, for sure. So Jalen, you got some stuff coming up in August too, yeah?
Yeah, my buddy Dave, who owns the Octopus on College Hill, is gonna let me bring some friends in there. We're gonna do some alternative EDM type stuff.
Okay.
I'm gonna break out. So most people that know me from performing have seen me perform as the Lone Wolf, but I'm actually gonna step out as You Have Matter for the first time, which is this. It's got a lot of nicknames, but right now I'm kind of sticking with the Cosmic Drifter. Kind of just hangs out in the outskirts of existence. So kind of mind-bending sounds I'll be bringing to the stage.
Okay.
And what date is this?
August 10th.
Okay.
Doors open at 8.
Doors open at 8.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's at Octopus in Cedar Falls. Okay.
$10 a head. And I was thinking to cut in half for college students because that's around the time they might come back. So if they're just hanging out waiting for school to start, I might slash in half. We'll find out.
Okay. Gotcha. So this event, is it appropriate for the kids? Is it more geared towards young adults?
I say 18 and up.
18 and up?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So leave the kiddies at home. This is not something for the kids. This is something for the grown folks. So make sure you leave them at home. All right. Good to see.